Hello, my name is McKenna Peloth, and today I'll be applying for the head coaching position for grades 7 and 8 girls for the AAU Buffalo Defenders basketball organization. I believe that my education background has made me qualified for this position. In 2018, I became a Niagara County Community graduate. I graduated with an associate's degree in physical education studies. I then decided to continue my education at Canisius College, where I graduated in 2020 with an undergraduate degree in physical education sports studies, as well as with a minor in coaching. I then decided to go on to my master's degree and stay at Canisius College, where I became a master's candidate, and I plan to continue my education in physical education and graduate in fall of 2021. A few qualifications and certifications that I have are the CDC Heads Up Concussion Certification. I am certified in CPR and first aid. I have a DASA certification, which is the certification for the prevention of bullying within schools. And I have also been fingerprinted within New York State. I believe that in order to be a successful coach, you must develop a coaching philosophy. The key components of my coaching philosophy have been compiled based upon positive pedagogy, including a game-based approach. A game-based approach is going to be athlete-centered, and within the game-based approach, athletes are going to develop knowledge, decision-making, awareness, and they will also develop the ability to make conscious and non-conscious decisions, which as an athlete is very important, especially in any game situation. You may not have time to always sit there and think about your next move. So I feel like that's a very important skill for the athletes to develop, especially at a young age. Not only will they develop those skills, but game-based approach provides positive experiences for the athletes. It facilitates learning. It increases positive feelings towards oneself and their well-being. And they also develop positive personal and social moral development. Another component of my positive pedagogy coaching philosophy includes the learning environment. This is the environment that the athletes are going to see every day. One important aspect of the environment is ensuring that the athletes are having a positive experience. By having a positive experience, they're more likely to learn more. Learning is increased. In the way that we increase learning within our practices and is ensuring that there is no bullying, and that each athlete's needs are being met. As a coach, I will ensure that there is enjoyment being had during practices and leading up to games. Having enjoyment within the program is really important because you do not want athletes to resent the sport they play, because that could lead to an increased possibility that they will begin to dislike physical activity, and that could lead to a sedentary lifestyle. And another important aspect of the learning environment is having a practice plan that makes sense not only to the coach but to the players. You want your players to feel like they have some sense of building up to and achieving something. So practice plans should be thought out and they should progress and become more challenging throughout the years or throughout the season so that the players are developing. Players should be learning through experience, so every day as they play, you want the players to have a physical experience of the practice, and then you also want to talk and reflect with the players during or after drills and after practice. And then as a coach, I would want to make sure I understood how my athletes learn the best. So this could include creating smaller side drills where I could come up and talk to groups individually or one-on-one, and then also changing rules of activities where you can progress activities from being easier to more challenging. Within my coaching philosophy, I thought it was very important that my athletes develop life skills. So for an example, I will use Antivosky's SOC model from the text. This demonstrates positive pedagogy very well because Antivosky places an emphasis on the positives of maintaining health and well-being instead of focusing on, which most people focus on to get their point across, about disease and the risk factors of what happens when an individual is not healthy. So within my philosophy, I plan to follow this model because it covers comprehensibility, manageability, and meaningfulness. Within comprehensibility, this means that learning for the athletes is going to take place through engagement and through their experiences, which will help them think on their own, not only for the sport, but in their other subjects of life as well. And then another component of this model is manageability, which this is where the individual discovers the resources they have to manage stress and complicated challenges that they may face. And the last component of the model is meaningfulness, and this is where an athlete will have positive expectations for life and future, and the way they develop this is when a coach engages the athletes positively by effective cognitive and physical aspects. This way the student feels that what they're doing in practice and throughout the rest of their life has meaning to them. I believe that the way practices are kind of sought out by the coach is another important aspect of a coaching philosophy. Within practices, you want to make sure you're changing the ratio of offense and defense. This is something that I would facilitate in my practices by having maybe 3 offense players against 5 defense players. This gives the players a different look, since you will always have ever-changing aspects of the game and you never know what you're going to get in a game situation. Another way practices could be changed up is by the amount of balls being used in a drill. So this will force players to think differently and look around for more looks. The rules of games could be changed, so you could have a certain number of passes before your players are allowed to shoot. And then you could also change the size of the court during small-sided games or drills, which by changing the rules and the size of the court, this makes it more challenging for the players, which is just going to help them develop and become better as players. The progression of activities is another important aspect of practices. As a coach, I want to ensure that when we progress from the beginning of practice to the end, I'm going to be making practices easier at the beginning and have them get more challenging. And I'm going to constantly go back and forth between this as I watch my players. If they're having too difficult of a time with one activity, I'm not going to move on to the next step. And then with the use of small group drills within practices, this allows for more questioning. If I were to float around to different groups, I could ask certain questions, and I wouldn't have to waste my time talking to the whole team. The players would get more touches on the ball during this time, and the players can also work together and kind of have a group discussion on what they can do better and how they could do the drill in a different way. The last aspect of my coaching philosophy that I would like to cover is something that I find very important to positive pedagogy, and that is facilitating questioning within practices. Questioning should be introduced to the team gradually because it is not something that every coach uses. The reason we want to introduce it gradually is because players may not be familiar with it, and it kind of puts them on the spot at sometimes, so they may feel pressured to answer questions, or they might be shy in front of their other teammates. Another aspect of questioning is as a coach, when I should be asking the questions and the amount of questions I should ask. It's really important to ask questions at appropriate times, and you don't want to ask too many questions because this could overwhelm the players or it could cause them to lose focus on the task at hand. Another positive thing about questioning is that you could ask the athletes to give their answers, and if it's still not what you're looking for as a coach, I could have them experiment their ideas, and if it still doesn't work, they can discuss in groups about why it didn't work, and then they can discuss again on how to make it better. Questioning also encourages athletes to ask questions other than the times that the coach is asking questions. So they may be in the middle of a side drill or during the game, and they will stop and they will ask questions to the coach without feeling embarrassed in front of their teammates. Groups can work together with questioning. You could kind of split everybody up into groups and have them work towards a similar goal and see who comes out with the best outcome. And questioning also gives athletes a sense of belonging, especially as a coach. If I were to allow the team to try their ideas, they really like that. And it also builds trust between the coach and the players. An example of using questioning within one of my practices would allow all players to be a part of the practice. So, for example, if I was working on a fast break drill with my players and they weren't quite getting the fast break down and there were too many turnover possessions, I could stop, ask the team at which point or where on the court is there going to be an open defender, and as they work together to come up with an answer, I could have them try their answers until they give an answer that I would like, and then we would just build off the practice from there. I believe that I should be the next head coach for the Buffalo Defenders AAU basketball organization because my coaching philosophy incorporates different aspects of positive sport pedagogy. Some of these aspects are very important to athlete health and well-being. And that goes beyond just the physical part of sport. Athletes will develop critical thinking skills, stress management, and they will have the ability to have a positive outlook on life. And I believe these skills are important to practice at a very young age so that athletes can incorporate them into their everyday lives.